Hello, hello. Welcome to Healthy Perspectives, a podcast that takes on current cultural and social issues through a clinical lens. Hello, hello. Welcome back. Thank you so much for joining us. As always, we appreciate your time. If you haven't done it, please like, subscribe, follow all those things. It does help. And I have a question for you today. Would you know if you were a propagandist? Would you know? Or is it possible that this would fall into your blind spot? I'm going to show you today how you are a propagandist and you don't even know it much of the time. Not because I want you to feel stupid. I'm doing this because I want to help you to see yourself and the world around you clearly. So I'm gonna dig right in. Please stick around. Let's find out why you probably are a propagandist and you may not even know it. Quote, all propaganda must be popular and its intellectual level must be adjusted to the most limited intelligence among those it is addressed to. Consequently, the greater the mass it is intended to reach, the lower its purely intellectual level will have to be. But if, as in propaganda for sticking out in a war, the aim is to influence an entire or a whole people, we must avoid excessive intellectual demands on our public, and too much caution cannot be exerted in this direction. Okay. I read you a quote, and in that quote, it highlighted that propaganda is truly designed to dumb us down. Okay. Have you ever used something that really is designed to dumb people down? Have you ever used a meme? Have you ever highlighted memes, liked memes because you thought they were funny? There's a good chance that many of those memes are actually propaganda. By design, somebody, now sometimes these things happen just by the nature of connecting to people. It's not always propaganda. There's more to propaganda than just what I read. But it is important to note that propaganda has a function of being dumbed down, right? The idea is to simplify the message so that everyone, even a fifth grader, can figure it out. All right, I'm going to read you something else because this is important. The art of propaganda lies in understanding the emotional ideas of the great masses and finding, through a psychologically correct form, the way to the attention and thence to the heart of the broad masses. So it's something that's supposed to, by design, incite some type of an emotional reaction that the masses would partake in. That's funny because I'm reading to you something. I'll tell you where it's from shortly. Hang in there with me. I know you're probably curious if you haven't figured it out already. I will share with you where I'm getting this. But what earlier was said is that the masses, now I didn't necessarily read this part to you, but the masses are stupid. This person believed that the masses were stupid or not highly intellectual. All right. Then it goes on to say, once we understand how necessary it is for propaganda to be adjusted to the broad mass, the following rule results. It is a mistake to make propaganda many-sided. like scientific instruction, for instance. In other words, it's a single-sided, overly simplistic idea aimed at unintelligent people. You're a propagandist and you probably didn't even know it. How many times have we done that? I've done that. Not on purpose, but I have. I dumb things down because I want people to understand the things that I have to offer, the knowledge, the experience, and all of that stuff. I do it clinically all the time. So if I'm not careful and I'm pushing my agenda, then I'm a propagandist, not a counselor. And I don't want that to be the case. So I'm sure we could go back and look at all. I mean, I've got a whole bunch of podcasts out there. I'm sure I was a propagandist at times, even in my podcast, when I'm trying not to be. I'm telling you that because it's a cultural phenomenon and flaw. We can all be propagandists at this point. And unfortunately, most of us probably are. Because if we are not looking at all the angles or multiple angles at least, we're being propagandists, right? We're just pushing an agenda. We hear it from one source and we repeat. That's propaganda, folks. Now I'm going over this because it is a cultural blind spot, but it is also really important to understand how we function with other people. And truthfully, when we get a source of information from a place we trust, we tend to repeat it and repeat it and repeat it and repeat it. The first step ought to be verify it, then repeat it. Like verify not just its source, but verify its accuracy. And we often don't do that. Honest to goodness, we don't. I fall victim to that too, because I want simple, much probably like you. All right, I'm going to tell you one more part here. This is important. Then I'll tell you who it is. But the most brilliant quote, the most brilliant propagandist technique will yield no success unless one fundamental principle is borne in mind constantly and with unflagging attention. It must confine itself to a few points and repeat them over and over. Here, as so often in this world, persistence is the first and most important requirement for success. So when we look at social media and what it has become, it is the single greatest propaganda tool that there is in the world. I think that's an easy argument to make. That, what I just quoted to you, several different parts, were two different pages of Mein Kampf, written by Hitler himself. Those were his words. And I shared those with you without you knowing, because some of that truly does make sense. The way in which he viewed propaganda was why he was able to manipulate millions of people in Germany. It was some of the statistics I was reading. There's like 8 million soldiers in Germany during his time, or somewhere about there, before he started all of this. And that's a really important thing to understand, which is in a time of war, propaganda or division, propaganda is at high points, folks. Why am I bringing this up? I'm bringing this up today because there's stuff going on around you. And I don't want you to be blind. I don't want you promoting things by accident. Now, if you're promoting them on purpose, okay, so be it. But I don't want you. I'm actually here trying to catch the people who want to grow and change and make themselves better. I'm not here preaching to those who think they know everything. It's not what I'm doing. I'm not here to try to tell the dumb people to get up and figure things out. My opinion, I think the masses are not as unintelligent as a lot of people assume they are. Let's be clear. The Democrats and the Republicans use the Hitler model. I know that's really controversial in concept, but they do. And I can prove it to you. And then, unfortunately, we buy into it. We, meaning you, meaning me, we buy into it. Have you heard that the J6 rioters were completely unarmed? Have you heard that? Have you repeated that? That's propaganda. Have you heard that the rioters were merely protesting a rigged election? Have you heard that? That's propaganda. Have you heard the rioters were invited into the Capitol by the police? Propaganda. Why am I saying this? Because look, I am not, you can go back and listen. I've done some J6 podcasts. Do I want to get into that today? No. But I'm teaching you right now a tool. A tool. It's a way to take the blinders off and ask yourself, is this something that has been repeated over and over and over? Has the message been simplified so that a fifth grader could understand it? And do you ever hear the other side of the argument? So I got all of these, by the way, from CNN. And it goes on. There's more. There's other propaganda lines. The jailed rioters are nonviolent political prisoners. Here's the thing. Some political prisoners were probably taken because of J6. Is it all of them? No. Were there people who broke the law? Absolutely. All right. Now, if you can't hear both sides, it's because you're buying into the propaganda. I'm trying to help you open your eyes, folks. If you can't honestly say that some of the rioters were protesting a rigged election and some of the rioters were not, you're buying into the propaganda because there was a little of both. If you watch any of the videos, you could see a little bit of both. You can see both. It's not like it's not too difficult to see when you're looking for propaganda. Remember, it's got to be simplified. These messages. Here, I'm gonna switch to the other side of this, so that you get I give you some perspective, because that was, the Democratic propaganda is saying it's an insurrection. That's propaganda. That's propaganda. There is no evidence it was an insurrection. Why do we know that? There's no charges for insurrection on anybody just about that was there. It was mostly rioting. There were a few people who took it way further than that, and it became dangerous. Those are facts, folks. But an insurrection, that is propaganda from one side. And they cannot let you know the other side, because that would defeat the purpose of propaganda. You have to stay the course, stay the course, stay the course, stay the course. No matter what you encounter, you have to stay the course, because the assumption being made there is that it's easier for you to forget the lies that you've been told after the fact. That's the assumption propagandists make, that, oh, if it turns out that I'm wrong, you'll forget. You'll forget because the masses are too dumb to remember. That's what propaganda is based on. I'm not telling you that because I want it to be that way. What I'm saying is propagandists are wrong. You're smart. Turn your filter on. Look at both sides. And you won't, one, you won't be a promoter of propaganda. And number two, you won't fall so hard for propaganda. And those are important things, folks. Very important things. I did tell you I was going to give you another side. I'm going to give you another side. There is this propaganda that we have an open border down bordering Mexico. Now, that's propaganda. What's really happening is different than it's an open border. An open border means there is no stopping anyone. And that, frankly, is false. The border folks, the border patrol that is down there, is stopping who they can. Now, are they being told to let a lot of people in? Yes. Are there, like, there's a lot of pieces to the puzzle. But the propaganda is it's an open border, and the Republicans want you to believe that it's an open border, just like the Democrats want you to believe it was an insurrection. But those both are propaganda. Please hear me. I'm not telling you all of this because I want you to pick one or the other side. I'm a clinical counselor. What I don't want is for you to be blind, naive, and foolish. I want you to have your eyes open. Be aware of yourself. Be aware of others around you. Be aware of the cultural pressure. Be aware. That means propaganda, along with other things, right? But propaganda as well. Because the more you're aware, the better our world is. It's just going to be that way because you're not going to fall for things. And in social media land, how many times do you forward or promote propaganda? Here's a challenge for you. This would be fun. Go into your Instagram or your Twitter or your TikTok or your whatever. Go into it and look at your last 20 posts that you just reposted. Your reposts. Just look at the last 20 reposts. I'd be shocked if 10 of them or less were not propaganda. I'm just guessing. I don't know. I didn't do that. I'm gonna go into mine, and I'm gonna look right now while we are doing this, so that I can be accurate. But I think you all should do it. Every single one of you. I really, truly do. I think it would be a really neat experience for all of you to go in and do this. I'm going to go through mine and I'm going to look. I have one from the POTUS talking about Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. recommit to honoring his vision. There's propaganda in it, folks. Literally, the very first one I went to. Listen to this. It is what it is. Today, this is the quote. Today, we reflect on the life and legacy of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and recommit to honoring his vision. Then there's a space. And then it says, it's up to us to march forward, choosing democracy over autocracy and a beloved community. Quotes, beloved community was in quotes, over chaos, to take up Dr. King's mantle and make his dream a reality. That the first part wasn't propaganda. The second part was propaganda, folks. And I retweeted it. It's up to us to march forward, choosing democracy over autocracy. That's like the Democratic line right now. Well, one of them. Remember, simple, repeatable, and designed to appeal to the masses. It's not about truth. Matter of fact, more often than not, propaganda is about lies, secrets, or deceptions. They want you to believe a certain lie. They did in J6. They do with the border. They do with democracy, the term democracy right now. It's really sad. And I fell for it. This is probably, worse, but I'm going to just admit my fault here. Honestly, I probably didn't read the second part. How many times do you do that? I know I'm not the only one who partially reads and then reposts when there's a really good part. Yeah, I generally try to do better than that. And I would say, generally speaking, I probably do better than that. But I'm like, oh, POTUS. Oh, the first part was really good. I should have probably read the whole thing because I just encouraged propaganda, unfortunately. And that, folks, is why I brought this conversation to you today. I want us to do better. All right? That takes work. And I know that that's hard. And I know not everybody has the bandwidth for it. But please don't just take one person's word for it. Hitler depended on that quality in the masses, that they wouldn't do any work, that they would be lazy and listen to the overriding message that he wanted them to hear. Biden does it. Trump does it. Pretty much all of our politicians do it. Because to bring you a balanced perspective, it's very time consuming. And to be honest, when you and me start putting our time, energy, and resources into paying attention to different angles, then and only then can the masses make the change in the way that the politicians function. And for us, for you and me, it's really, truly, clinically about blind spots. I don't want you to have blind spots. I want you to be intentional. I hope this was helpful. I know this was a little tougher topic maybe than some that we've done, but I really appreciate you listening. I hope if you made it this far, like and subscribe. Go ahead and hit those buttons. I know you like it. Otherwise, you would have stopped long before now. Appreciate your time and have a great day. Hey, everybody. Thanks for listening. We appreciate our audience a lot, so we give you some simple ways to track us down. Please like, subscribe, and follow all the podcasts on different platforms, but you can also email us at healthyperspectives@protonmail.com, or you can check out our website at healthy-perspectives.com/podcast. It's a backward slash. So if you want to go to our landing page, if you go to healthy-perspectives.com, you'll still find us. You just got to click on the podcast button. Thank you so much.